What sends you into orbit? Sometimes comfort problems aren't really about the thermostat. Sometimes comfort problems aren't really about the thermostat. Hot spots, cold spots, poor airflow, humidity issues, and aging equipment can leave everyone feeling frustrated. As the husband and wife-owned company, trust us, we get it. Whatever sends you into orbit, make sure your home's comfort isn't one of them. Schedule your tune-up and home evaluation with LCS Heating and Cooling today. Go to lcsheatingandcooling.com.
Outside the Forecast on WTHR Plus is sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling.
It's August, which means it's our sunniest month of the year, one of the hottest too. I'm 13 News meteorologist Matt Standridge. I wanted to walk you through what August is typically like. I know it's hot, it's sunny, it's summer, of course. Let's put some numbers to it and also show you, are there any differences with this August that we expect compared to August in the past? Let's go ahead and jump into the data. As always, I want to start with daylight changes because that is the reason why we even have seasonal changes, plus the angle of the sun. The higher the sun angle is, when you have the sun, it hits you hotter, it gives you more heat. When the sun's off, more in the distance, it's lower in the sky, it's not as effective at heating us up. So in August, we actually are seeing our sun angles go back down a little bit, and I'll show you in a moment, but we still have a lot of daylight. Daylight is shrinking. Here in Indiana, we're losing about an hour. If you are north of 70, you're getting closer to about 70 minutes of daylight loss, so an hour and 10 minutes. So a good chunk coming through. You can kind of estimate that all out to almost getting to 2 minutes a day. But we're going to be losing more daylight, which means eventually we cool temperatures off a little bit. We are still hot this time of year, and we don't see a huge change in temperatures yet because we're still gaining more heat from the sun than we're losing at night because the days are still very long. They're getting shorter, but they're still long compared to the rest of the year. At nighttime, though, you can see the moon, and our full moon this month will be at the end of the month. It's the sturgeon moon, the sturgeon moon. There may also be, for some folks, a partial lunar eclipse. So it won't be a full red one like a total eclipse, but a little partial eclipse. Kind of cool, a little something different. Sturgeon moon is also called the flying up moon, the black cherries moon, and I like this one, the mountain shadows moon. Because when the sun is really high in the summer across North America, you don't really have very many shadows. In fact, during the summer, you have your smallest shadow. During the middle of the day, of course, in the evening when the sun is setting, everyone has a long shadow. But I'm talking about middle of the day. It's close to being directly above our head, so small shadows. What we notice, though, in August, as the sun angle gets lower, even during the peak part of the day at solar noon, what we call it, even the mountains will start to cast a little bit of shadow. I'm not talking about mountains here in Indiana. We don't really have mountains, but maybe your hill or maybe even your house will start casting a little bit more of a shadow. But that's kind of a fun one. But the full sturgeon moon, technically the night, August 27th into 28th. Will be full then. A few other things. Sometimes I like to talk about the animals, insects, what's kind of happening. Migrations haven't started yet, although I'll tell you what, in September, we're going to start having our first waves of birds starting to leave Canada. But August, we should still be good. They're still enjoying their summertime vacation up north, and even birds here who settled in Indiana before they go back south. But lightning bug season has ended. May you see a couple lightning bugs? Sure, but the big waves are done. It's a fun time of year, but it is wrapping up. They like kind of the front half of summer. And there's different species, different times, but the majority of them, you're not going to see as many for the rest of the summer. Sun angles are starting to go down. We're starting to see the waning of summer take place. It's still in full effect, but starting to turn a corner here. Look at your sun angles. In fact, in June, during the summer solstice, you have your highest sun angle at solar noon, there for the solstice. It's 74 degrees above the horizon. Remember, 90 degrees straight above. So you're just a little bit past that. And this isn't to scale. But in August, it goes down to 63 degrees. It's these small differences that we have to account for when it not only comes to temperature, but I'll give you an example, severe weather. You know how many times you talk about clouds impacting severe weather? You have too many clouds, you can't really form anything, so you kind of want extra clouds. But during different times of the year, when you get clouds to clear, how long do you need that window to be? In August, you don't need it still to be very long. There's still a high enough sun angle that when you can clear the clouds a little bit, you're going to destabilize the atmosphere fast. In February, you kind of need a few hours of clear sky in order to destabilize the atmosphere. So it's not just about temperature. There are a lot of factors. This is one thing we have to look at. Sunburn time is starting to go down. Of course, still make sure you're lathering up on the sunscreen, especially if we're going to be out all day or headed to one of the Indiana dunes or maybe even just to your back pool. But the UV index is starting to drop. Here in August, we're still at one of the higher months, but if you kind of look at the trend line, go back to the left, about an 8 for UV index. So what does that really mean? Well, sunburn time can take place in 30 minutes. Now, a lot of this is still factoring in, you haven't really gotten much of a tan, you haven't seen a lot of sun, so that's how quickly it could possibly be. It does kind of change if, your skin's getting a little bit tanner or, depending on what time of day you're out, but the max sunburn time may be about 30 minutes or so, or the fastest, I should say. We're getting away from our 10s and 11s, and this is for the average for the month. So we're actually still starting here at the first part of August, but gradually our sunburn times are going down. And if you remember at the beginning, I said it was our sunniest month. 70% of our days here in central Indiana, at least, it's pretty close for the rest of the state, are sunny or mostly sunny. That's some good news. So it's our sunniest month. We've made that switch from cloudiest over to more sunshine than clouds back in April to May, and so now we're at the peak. Later this year, of course, we'll start talking about clouds increasing. Eventually, we'll have more clouds than sun. That starts taking place in November, so we still got some good months of a lot of sunshine. A lot of sunshine, still fairly high sun angles. We got warm temperatures, but in the month of August, we start to see our highs go down. I'm talking barely. We're still at 85 degrees for the average high in the afternoon at the beginning of the month. Middle of the month is 84. At the end of the month it's 83. So not a big difference, but it's all about the trend. Where are we going next? Summer's not over, but I want you to know summer doesn't last forever. So enjoy it while we've got it. Rainfall averages. Look at this. Throughout much of the summer, we actually have our wettest months of the year on average. What this really counts for is we don't have as many systems a lot of times, but when the atmosphere is warmer, it's actually taller. We can actually see, we call it troposphere, where all the weather happens. It expands. Heat expands, the atmosphere expands. When you expand and you have more evaporation, you can get more water in the air. And so sometimes we got big downpours that come in. To get flooding in the spring, a lot of times it just has to rain for a long time. In the summer, you only need 2-3 hours of rain, but it can be raining 2 to 3 inches per hour. So that's why you have a few higher totals the first half of summer. But notice in August, we start seeing a drop. Now, it still is like that, where most of that rain is not just, a gentle little rain here, and then a few days later, another little gentle rain. No, it's downpours, it's thunderstorms, hit or miss, but there's a lot of dry stretches in August. This is also what helps our crops start to dry out. July is our greenest month. It's still very green going into August, but I tell you what, you're going to start seeing the corn change by the end of the month. Dryness levels are okay compared to where we've been in the past. I know a lot of farmers would like to argue with me a little bit. I know you need some more rainfall. We are going into August a few degrees in a few inches in deficit, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 inches deficit. We would like to make that up. But to be at the start of August and to not technically be in drought, that is some good news. But we still need to keep the water flowing. We had the water flowing at the beginning of summer, and it's been kind of lacking here for a bit. Now, we've gotten some thunderstorms to get us wet, but we'll have to see if we can start getting a little bit more rainfall. I do want to back this up a little bit. I'll show you the statewide, because you can kind of see a couple different areas, but we've got a couple pockets there of some what we call abnormally dry conditions in north central Indiana, technically not a drought. So if you had a scale here, you could put a 1 here for moderate, 2, 3, 4. Abnormally dry doesn't mean you're in drought, but we do have places where it's getting dry. But we're okay compared to other places in the U.S. We could use still a little bit of water, but at least technically we're not in a drought. We've seen summers way worse than this. How many tornadoes do we get? Well, in the month of August, typically it's a quieter month here in Indiana. Could we get a couple tornadoes? It's possible. It's on average to get a few. But really we see the active bullseye severe weather up to the north, but even up north it starts to wane. August, a lot of times is a quieter month. What you have to watch out for is these summertime thunderstorms. They get really hot and they have a lot of gusty winds. You get these derechos, or even, it doesn't have to be a derecho. Derecho is just talking about a huge windstorm, X amount of miles wide. It goes so many miles long with damage. You don't have to always hit those thresholds, but you can get some nasty windstorms or just downdrafts. That's when you build up a lot of heat and you get a big thunderstorm that doesn't sit, or it actually sits for a while, doesn't move very much. Rain pours down and that cooler air surges down. It almost looks like a bomb blows off. And in the radar, you can see this ring that just goes everywhere. So downdrafts, we call them sometimes macro bursts if they're bigger, micro bursts if they're smaller. So those are possible. Okay, we just walked you through August. You already knew what August was, but we put a little context to it. What about this August? Well, when you're looking at the general maps, there's really not much of a story here. It does look like a typical August. However, this is average throughout the entire month. It does look like for August 2026, the first 2 weeks will start building some heat. The question is, how long do we hold that? Can we hold it all month? Maybe. But it does look like at least the front half. Of course, we're still at the beginning of the month, so it's a little bit easier to kind of tell. But I would say the first half of August, we do expect a little extra heat. Not every day, but we do expect kind of a warmer trend. And so we'll see if that holds. Rainfall-wise, there's also a slightly higher trend of some pop-up unsettled storms maybe for the first 2 weeks of August. Now, does that mean everyone gets hit? No. But overall, it doesn't look like an area of the country is really extra super wet or super dry. The only reason why you see extra green out west for the 30-day outlook throughout the whole month of August is that it's their monsoon season. That's when you get the southerly flow, you get these pop-up showers and storms. In some way, some of the desert areas can get rain throughout the year. Hopefully that monsoon effect can help those folks out. Hopefully help some wildfire areas too. It may be a little stronger, but here in Indiana, it's kind of going to be a toss-up. I would aim towards generally averages. What have we seen? There's not a huge trend to see, oh, we're not getting a drop anymore. We've got drought conditions are on the way. That's not very clear. It's also not clear on the other side. Wow, we got big systems that are going to keep getting us some rain. We're not seeing either extremes. That's what we're expecting for the month of August. Of course, it is a hot month. It's, for many kids, back to school month. It's hot when we start school, but hopefully you still have some good summer days before school starts for you. Or once school gets out, still have some good time back in the back patio, at the pool, and during the weekends as well. That's a look at August.
Outside the Forecast on WTHR Plus is sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling.